Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Sunday Night Football, and it should be a good one. Although I think we're looking at kind of an under game in terms of the final score here, but that's not stopping me, and it's not stopping us from digging into this thing from a single game perspective. Briefly, Minnesota heads to Denver. This one kicks off promptly at 8:20 p.m. The over/under right now is at around 43.5 points, and you're looking at Joshua Dobbs versus Russ Wilson. Justin Jefferson is still hurt and inactive, but we still have a laundry list of stars to kind of look in on. TJ Hawk, Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte, even Ty Chandler is starting to make a name for himself. But before I get into all that and the final score and some recent betting trends here, make sure you get to the website, fantasy6pack.net, and when you get there, tell them Beastie sent you. Maybe you'll get a couple bucks off a premium membership. And with it being, it's we're less than a week away from Thanksgiving, and then right after that, it's Christmas time, and there's plenty of gifts to be purchased for your family and friends. And if some of your friends are like me or like you watching this video, why can't you gift some people some premium membership, stuff from Fantasy Six Pack? It's a great gift to give if you're into sports betting, DFS, rankings, seasonal fantasy stuff. Everything that you need is right here at Fantasy Six Pack, and I say it a million times until I'm blue in the face. The cheapest one is $9.99 a month, and that includes everything. And if you want to get a hold of me directly or any of the other rankers or DFS folks, it's the Discord. That's where that's happening. And with the premium membership, you get all access to all the channels that are there. And I know as it stands right now, DFS is what I love to do. And if you're watching this video, it's what you love to do. But the seasonal fantasy playoff season is just around the corner, and this is where you're going to want to be, because we have, as I hate to repeat myself, but there is a collection of people here that are some of the best overall rankers to have ever walked the earth. So if you want to get in and win a seasonal fantasy football championship, then join Fantasy Six Pack, because they are unbelievably good at ranking, while the rest of us, me and Keith and Dave, are really good at DFS. So let's talk about this game, shall we? As I said, kickoff is at 8:20 p.m. They're playing in Denver at Mile High. Russ Wilson, that Mile High air is of concern. You see guys wearing oxygen masks after a long run, things along those lines. So right off the bat, is that an advantage? It could be, or not. Right now, Minnesota is 6-4. Denver's 4-5. Right now, Minnesota trails the Detroit Lions in the north in terms of wanting to win this thing. And Denver at 4-5, tough sledding given the division there, and they're not going to catch KC or anybody like that. But hey, there is still pride to play for. So let's get right into it, and let's talk about this guy, Josh Dobbs. This guy, man, who he's been to the moon for all I know at NASA. He has been a spark plug for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he has a little bit of magic in him here tonight. The final score doesn't bode well for him in Minnesota, but there is still some goodness to like from a DFS perspective. Denver right now 24th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Dobbs $15,000 on FanDuel, 10-6 on DK, $30 on Yahoo. I have Dobbs 22 to 23 completions, around 230 passing yards, and I think he throws a touchdown pass. I'll tell you who he tosses it to when we get down later in the video here. 4 to 5 carries, 30 yards, nothing crazy. When we look at Russ Wilson, he has been a little bit, reinvigorated here with Denver, right? He split from Seattle. That was a while ago. But Russ Wilson is still Russ Wilson. He can make plays happen. When things break down, he's able to, extend plays. Same thing with Josh Dobbs here. But Minnesota right now, 19th overall against opposing quarterbacks here. And Russ Wilson, 14-5 on FanDuel, $10,000 on DK, $24 on Yahoo, 19-20 completions, 195 to 200 yards. Long gone are those days of of Russ Wilson. Has he ever been that 300-yard passer, right? But for this game specifically, I'm thinking around 200 to 210 would be very ambitious, but he will throw 2 touchdown passes, and I know what you're thinking. You can probably guess where those touchdowns are going to go, but we'll get to that. I always do, don't I? And around 4 to 5 carries for 25 to 30 yards here. When we look at the running backs, it's Alexander Mattinson. He's questionable, but this kid Ty Chandler has kind of come on strong. So far, until we hear otherwise, I do believe Alexander Mattinson is going to play, but right now, the Denver Broncos dead last against defending opposing running backs. So Mattinson, Ty Chandler, very much both in play here tonight. And when you look at Mattinson, 11 to 12 carries, 50 to 55 yards. I think he catches 2 to 3 passes for another 15 to 20 yards. And his price tag, it's doable. I don't feel comfortable spending 10.5 for Alexander Mattinson on FanDuel, but I do feel comfortable spending 10 grand on Ty Chandler on FanDuel. When you look at him, he has been he's been a bright spot, and I think Ty Chandler is in the mix to score a touchdown here this evening. I have him 9 to 10 carries, 45 to 50 yards on the ground, and a reception or two for another around 8 to 10 yards, nothing crazy. But I do think Ty Chandler finds the end zone on the ground. And all of you Alexander Mattinson seasonal folks are like, oh, what can I do? But this is DFS. This is a one and done kind of game here. So I would prefer Ty Chandler over Mattinson. If I'm wrong, it's happened a million times. We move on. When we look at the Denver Broncos running backs, it's all about Javonte Williams. This guy is finally healthy, and we know Javonte Williams way back when in the draft process as a rookie. This kid was supposed to be an absolute stud, and some injuries have kind of hindered what he can do. But now that he's back healthy, against the Minnesota Vikings defense, which is 6th against opposing running backs, I think Javonte, just volume alone, makes him worth it. He's 13 grand on FanDuel, 8.8 on DK. I have Javonte, 16-17 carries, 65 to 70 yards, a touchdown on the ground, and around 3 or 4 receptions for around 20 to 25 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, nothing crazy there. Salary relief, I don't know if you could say that. He's 8 grand on FanDuel. So, yeah, you could say that, man. If you build a lineup and you got a couple bucks left over, you're looking at 5 to 6 carries, 25 to 30 yards, and another 10 to 15 yards on 2 to 3 receptions. When we look at the wide receivers here, aside from the Minnesota Vikings running backs, because the Denver DVP is so bad, the way to attack this game would be the Denver Broncos wide receiver. So let's start there. It's Courtland Sutton, it's Jerry Jeudy. I think both of those guys score a touchdown. So if we rewind the video, I said Russ Wilson was going to throw 2 touchdowns. I think Sutton and Jeudy are the recipients of a touchdown apiece. When we look at Sutton, because right now Minnesota 25th overall against opposing wide receivers, and so far Sutton and Jeudy have been awesome. Courtland Sutton specifically, Sutton 12.5 on FanDuel, 8.2 on DK, only $18 on Yahoo. 7-8 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 55 to 60 yards, and that touchdown reception. When we look at Jerry Jeudy, 9.5 on FanDuel, 7.8 on DK, $17 on Yahoo. I have Jeudy, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 55, around 55, 50 to 55 yards, and that touchdown catch. Mims Jr., Lil Jordan Humphrey, nothing crazy there. The one thing I will say about Mims, if I'm not mistaken, he finished with negative points. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can let me know in the comments, and if I am wrong, I'll apologize. But for some odd reason, as I'm sitting here talking, I could have swore Mims was negative last time out, and that's not good. But you're looking at 1 to 2 targets, 1 to 2 receptions. But the one thing that stood out with Mims here is he's averaging 22.4 yards a reception. The only problem is he's not getting a ton of receptions. And rightfully so, given the fact that Sutton and Jeudy are ahead of him and both extremely talented. Little Jordan Humphrey, Nothing crazy. Salary relief be damned. He's 5-5 on FanDuel. But let's go to the Minnesota Vikings wide receivers here. And it's such a bummer that Jordan Jefferson has been hurt, because he is one of, if not the one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receivers in football. And he is going to be inactive tonight. But it looks like he's trending towards playing very soon here. But we're left with Jordan Addison, the rookie who's come on strong, KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell. Let's start with Addison. Denver right now 14th overall against opposing wide receivers, but the last 2 games that the Denver Broncos have played, their defense has been outstanding, right? This is what we thought the Denver Broncos were going to be on defense, and maybe they have 5 losses. Maybe it took a few losses for them to get their ass in gear, for the defensive coordinator kind of kick them in and say, hey, let's get it moving. And the Denver defense has been awesome as of late. But Jordan Addison right now, 11-5 on FanDuel, 8-4 on DK, $23 on Yahoo. I have Addison 7 to 8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, and around 60 yards there. KJ Osborne might be the move, right? Everybody's going to flock towards Jordan Addison because he is the de facto wide receiver 1 for Minnesota, where we can kind of sneak in with KJ Osborne in the back door at a lower ownership percentage. And Osborne only 7-5 on FanDuel, 6-6 on DK, $15 on Yahoo, 5 to 6 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 40-45 yards. I wouldn't be shocked if Osborne got to 50 yards. That would be a little bit, as I always say, a little ambitious, but given his price tag, KJ Osborne makes for a nice little last-minute addition in your lineups. Brandon Powell, nothing crazy. He's $8,000 on FanDuel, and you're looking and what is he on DK? $4,000. And Brandon Powell, 2 to 3 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 15 or 20 yards. Nothing crazy. When we talk about the tight ends, it's got to be Adam Troutman, Oliver. I don't really care for any of those guys. Who I do care for is T.J. Hockenson. Last week out, this guy is an absolute warrior, playing with broken ribs or hurt ribs or back problems, and this guy was just unbelievable, all those targets and receptions. So to me, tonight on this slate, aside from, I'll tell you my personal favorite at the MVP captain spot is Ty Chandler. And Ty Chandler, and then Javonte, and then we the deal, then vice versa. But TJ Hockenson at MVP captain spot is going to be the most popular move. So there's not a lot of money to be made with TJ at MVP captain spot. But if you're playing in a GPP, you could if you're playing in cash games, TJ Hockenson in your captain spot has to be a must, right? And again, if 100,000 other people have TJ Hockenson in their captain spot, that's cool, because then it's a wash, and then it's up to you to kind of figure out what other players to kind of put in your lineup to separate it. But TJ Hockenson right now, Denver is 31st overall against tight ends. TJ Hockenson is going to have one heck of a night, and God willing, he stays healthy. 1 catch, he lands wrong, he's out of the game. Knock on wood, 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't happen, because I want to see a full game from TJ Hockenson. I'm thinking 9 to 10 targets, 8 or 9 receptions, 70 to 80 yards, and he will score a touchdown. That makes for a nice little anytime touchdown bet. And to be fair, you can actually do that 3-leg parlay. TJ Hockenson anytime touchdown, Sutton and Judy anytime touchdown, those 3 together. And if you want to toss in Ty Chandler with an anytime touchdown, so that's 4 anytime touchdown bets in a parlay, that would net you a absolute ton of dough. Adam Troutman, nothing going on there with Sutton and Judy and Javonte. Adam Troutman is mainly used for blocking purposes, and they'll toss him the football a time or two as a thank you for being a good blocker and all that. When we look at the kickers here, nothing crazy is going on. As I said, I have this game to be on the lower side of things, so you would think, kickers are going to play a big role. I have Denver, maybe attempting 2 or 3 field goals. I have Minnesota attempting 1 or 2 field goals here. So of the 2, I would just prefer Denver's kicker, Will Lutz, because Minnesota's 21st against, opposing kickers, and you can get Will Lutz $9,000 on FanDuel, 5,000 $1,000 on DK. And when we get to the DSTs here, both are in play, and both are in play in MVP captain spots because of the lower ending score that I have here. I have the final score being around 23-17. So kickers and DSTs could be added in MVP captain spots and flex spots, and we might do okay. But of the two, I would prefer the Broncos DST just because they've been playing very well, lights out, you could say. And I could see a case here where Dobbs, his luck runs out in this one, right? And he's sacked a few times because we've seen Dobbs. He's really good at extending plays. If the coverage is good, he's able to roll out and maybe move the chains with his legs. He's able to extend plays and heave the ball down the field. And what are the chances? One or two of those times, it's a strip sack fumble or it's an interception, something along those lines. So I would prefer the Broncos DST here. They're 8-5 on FanDuel, 4-4 on DK, $12 on Yahoo. I think the Broncos, we're looking at 2 to 3 sacks. I think we're looking at an interception, and I also think we're looking at a fumble recovery from the Broncos. So in terms of MVP captain spots, the Broncos are absolutely in play. And to recap, before we get out of here, Ty Chandler is very much in play for me in an MVP captain spot. TJ Hawk, that goes without saying. And I also love the Broncos DST in an MVP captain spot. I got 4 cool betting trends, and we'll get the heck out of here. I gave you the final score, but you don't know who's going to win yet, so I'll tell you here in a minute. Minnesota, 6-3-1 against the spread their last 10 games. The under is 7-3, Minnesota's last 10 games. Denver, 3-6-1 against the spread their last 10 games. And the over is 5-5, Denver's last 10 games. So it's a toss-up here. So when all is said and done, I think the Denver Broncos, just bring Minnesota's winning streak to a screeching halt here, and Denver wins this one 23-17, and all is well. Right now, the over/under is at 43.5 points. So if you add up 23 and 17, you're looking at 30. You're looking at 40 points exactly. That would be 3.5 under what the total of this game is. So you can bet the under if you want, and you can just stack up the Broncos DST in the captain spot. You can use Ty Chandler, you can use Sutton or Judy there, however you plan on doing it. So be good, be safe. Denver wins this one 23-17, and I think it'll be a good game. Sunday Night Football. Normally we want fireworks, we want this and that. Just wait. That will be tomorrow, Monday Night Football, when we get a rematch of the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles play Kansas City, so look for that video to be out. Let's say late Monday morning or somewhere in the early afternoon. But be good, be safe. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for all the love and support with Bottom of the Barrel. Denver Broncos win this one at home, 23-17. Goodbye, be safe. Talk to you soon.